Welcome to the Labatt Postgame Show. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. That changed about 3 times, but we ended, I think, where a lot of people expected that game to end after the way it started. Penn State loses 30-24 to Oregon in the whiteout. 3 points at halftime. The Penn State defense played a very impressive game. My phone is already blowing up here from people wanting to text me about what just happened. Obviously, a very stunning way for that to end where Penn State is in it. The offense is churning in the fourth quarter. Churning, we'll get to that in just a second. And then, of course, a game-sealing interception for Drew Aller on their favorite play. They dial that play up when they want to go flood concept into the boundary. They're running a couple players through there, trying to get that Tyler Warren to the sideline pass. And I think it was Dylan Thieneman. He's watched the film. Penn State's offense, it feels like the tricks have dried up. If you want the assessment, I was expecting there to be more, obviously. If you followed this show, if you followed what we were doing here at Blue White Illustrated, there was more. You know, they did do some different things on offense. It's just none of them worked. And the core of it is Penn State's offensive line did not live up to expectations so far this season. And that continued today. Issues on the interior. I think that there's some big problems up front. Nick Dawkins had a terrible game. 2 false starts on the center. Multiple times that he's supposed to reach a player and wasn't able to do so. But the right side of the offensive line as well, I got some questions about that. We'll get into the game here to discuss all those things. And, of course, your questions, your comments, your frustrations. That's what we're here to do. Here to talk about the game, see what you have to say. We got Michael D. He says, I just don't understand when we will learn that Aller is not the guy. It's his senior season. I was giving him the opportunity to improve. 2 touchdowns in this game. One of them I don't think really counts on that end around. In the gotta have it moments, he brought the team back and then throws the game sealing interception, and that's on him. The overall flow of the game. If we're gonna start with Aller, and I know you're not gonna like this, but he didn't do anything in the first half. There wasn't a whole lot for him to do. They were trying to run the ball. They were putting him in 3rd and long situations and then getting a ton of pressure. Now, the offense needed to chill out in the first half because there was an insane tempo, an insane idea that they needed to press, and it led to a lot of mistakes. Just tempo, like the tempo plays need to end. It is not working for this offensive line specifically. They lose more than they win on those tempo plays. And here's the thing. That was the wrinkle last offseason. That was in the postseason. Everyone knows it now. Oregon especially knows that if they go up tempo and they run outside zone, or if they do tackle over, you can expect certain things. So it's not a great offensive scheme at this point. Receivers aren't getting open. Receivers aren't given a lot of opportunity to get open. It feels like a lot of this is predictable. And you heard Todd Blackledge. A lot of these times, the receivers are not getting separation, but they're playing zone. It's not like they're playing man coverage. It's the zones are predicting where the players are supposed to go. There's one, I broke down one play from the first half on social media, and Kyron Hudson's doubled. In essence, where there's an outside leverage player, there's an inside leverage player. So if he breaks outside, that's contained. If he breaks inside, that's contained. And by the time that Drew Aller was able to get to his second read, there was already pressure. This is this offense, when they couldn't run the ball in between the tackles, the pivot in the second half was to run outside. Aside from the drive where they got the 34-yard touchdown play on a play-action pass that hadn't worked against Villanova and I think FIU, it works against Oregon. Who would have figured? And Aller put the ball on the money. Deep ball conversation, not part of it today. The fact that they couldn't run the ball and the fact that they had no passing attack. When you got into the late stages of that game, the fact that Penn State's defense, and we'll get to them here in a second, they were not able to... They just were gassed. Now, the time of possession is not necessarily so crazy where they were on the field for so long, but the drives that they sustained, an 11-play drive, a 9-play drive, a 10-play drive, a 10-play drive, a 10-play drive, they were on the field for so many plays, and they had to do so much running. And they did not play a lot of backups in this game. When they did, Ty Blanding and Anthony Specca came in, and it wasn't great. Like, they didn't hold up, so they had to put the starters back in. And I just look at that as they ran out of gas in that overtime. And Penn State's offense came through with 3 touchdowns late, right, in the overtime, and then an interception to end the game. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. You are my co-host here. This is, as always, when we're out here after a big loss in a big game, you know, I'm not going to sit here and, yeah, but what about? Like, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. Your offense had 69 yards at halftime. It's not good enough. And so any options, any ideas you might have, we're open to them here on the BWI Live Postgame Show. Brett says, unfortunately, that looked like a team that hadn't played anyone of note, showed grit, but Lions just lost the battle. Yeah, and give credit. I want to give credit to Oregon. Oregon fans telling me that their defensive tackles had been cycling in games and had not really been playing full go for 4 weeks. And they were right. Like, those defensive tackles were much better. I think they played sharper in this game than they had previously. And also, I did pivot late. I want to say I did pivot late at the end of the game, or at the end of the tailgate show, thinking that those guys are pretty good. Amari Washington is a talented football player. Michael McCullen, he's here with Soul Crushing. The Beard Father, back with us again. Yeah. It is. It is. I said that's what I set up earlier in the week, that you are, like, not that you need my permission. It's absolutely justified. I try to be the rational person here. I try to tell you about the schemes and the things that were going on in the game, and I do want to talk about what I thought was an awesome game plan from Jim Knowles and the Penn State defense. It may have been frustrating, and it may have led to some of this, but had they gotten an offensive performance that was really worth anything, they would have won that game. Some of the things they were doing, Zakee Wheatley, a lot of guys were just really, really good in this game. Okay, so there's a bunch of people here, and I need to remind you, this is the Labatt Postgame Show. This fall, nothing goes better with college football than ice-cold Labatt Blue or Labatt Blue Light, because when you bleed blue and white, you drink blue and light, and you probably need a couple here after that game in consolation. It's born in Canada, brewed in the USA. Labatt has been a game day tradition for fans who know how to celebrate each first down and every touchdown. Here's the best part. When you stock up on Labatt, you can score big off the field, too. Just visit rewards.labattusa.com to get rewarded with the Buy Beer, Get Gear program. So whether you're tailgating with 107,000 fans or 112 or whatever it was today, or maybe the 409 people that watch our live shows during the week, whatever it might be, crack a Labatt Blue or Labatt Blue Light and make every Saturday a win. Please drink responsibly. Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. I do want to get to our defensive player of the game, because I'm chomping at the bit to talk about the thing that I think was very clear and was a good thing before we just dive into it's all awful and the offense is a fire. So yeah, let's get to the defensive player of the game. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen to you. A lot of upset people here on the internet, a lot of upset people leaving Beaver Stadium. Don't do anything stupid. If you do something stupid, though, and you're in a situation, you need a name, right? You need to know somebody. The defensive player of the game is brought to you by State College criminal defense lawyer Matt McClanahan. Matt is a Penn State alum and a Penn State superfan. That's how we met. He was a fan of the show, saw him downtown at an event, and here we are. That's why he's here supporting the show. Very accessible. You can reach out to him nights and weekends if anything is in a situation where you need criminal defense lawyer for over 24 years. Most of you will never need him. But if you do, you should call Matt McClanahan, a fellow member of the Penn State fan community. For more information, mattmlaw.com. It's really close for me on the defensive player of the game. I'm going to go with Zakee Wheatley. I'm going to go with Amari Campbell. It's very close because Amari Campbell played an awesome game. Penn State was giving the run to Oregon. So if you were frustrated by the number of rushing yards, and I don't even know what it was in this game, they had 176 yards rushing, 4.5 yards per attempt, and they started to wear down late in the game. Again, because they were on the field a lot. This was not exactly a bend but don't break plan, but a little bit. When you've got an explosive passing attack, the goal, and we talked about this on the tailgate show, you need to take away something. You need to decide what they're not going to have. So Penn State spent the whole night with 2 deep safeties and then Zakee Wheatley in the middle of the defense, basically playing Mike linebacker, flying downhill and making tackles. So in the first part of the game, Oregon is running up the middle, right? So they're running to where there is nobody. The offense, the linebackers are outside the tackles, and you have all these deep safeties. So Jim Knowles is saying, go ahead, run the football. There's 4 players in the box. And then what would happen is they would crash the defensive line in and fill from the outside where their available bodies are. It took a lot out of Zane Durant in this game. I'm just going to tell you that. This is what the key matchup in this game for me on the Tailgate Show was Zane Durant holding up against some of these double teams. And he wasn't perfect. They gave up some yards tonight, but the plan worked. Oregon had 17 points in regulation, right? Or they had 17 points in regulation. Oregon, explosive passing attack. Dante Moore, who had a great game, by the way. 248 yards, 3 touchdowns. When you got into that overtime, and you felt like after the Penn State defense wasn't able to hold, that was the end of the game. Because the Penn State offense was one-dimensional in the second half. Aside from that one drive, their game-tying drive, and now we're just going to get into some of these things because we got a defensive player of the game, and that plan was unsustainable when A.J. Harris and Zakee Wheatley are second on your team in tackles. And second and third, excuse me. Amari Campbell played a great game. I felt like there were times, though, late in the game, he was just gassed. And he needed to make some plays in that. I'm taking away best defender and making him maybe the second best defender in this situation because there were some plays late in that game he needed to make and just ran out of juice, man. I don't know what more you would want from that defense where they were doing a great job. I'd say the other thing was like maybe if they could get to the quarterback, would be good too. But Dante Moore, another thing we talked about on the Tailgate Show and all week was Dante Moore outside the pocket. I don't have the exact numbers, but I know their explosive play to Kenyon Sadiq. All these things that they were able to do was extending plays. Very few times did they get the actual designed play on a big strike. It was not something that they... their offensive passing game plan really revolved around short passes, screen plays, and then broken plays. If you told me coming into this game that Oregon scored 17 points in regulation, I'd say Penn State won that game 24-17. I almost argued to the point in my head they should have gone for 2 when they scored because if that game kept going, the defense just didn't have any gas left, and the offense was one-dimensional. So what happened in that fourth quarter? After that big explosive play, they were able to get some passing yards underneath, and they got the one big chunk play, 35-yard touchdown. And then Aller started running the football, both scrambling, and as a runner, he started keeping on those options, which finally opened up the outside run. Penn State was trying to run between the tackles. But what happened last year? Let's talk about what happened last year, and the game plan I think they tried to replicate, which was, to me, my biggest concern is they try to replicate this game plan. They were trying to run their outside zone and some of their things on the interior and run up the middle. Nick Dawkins last year was more athletic than their nose tackle. And so they used tempo and counteracted their athleticism up front with Penn State's athleticism. Oregon was ready for that, and the players are different. These are more athletic, big-bodied guys up front. And Nick Dawkins struggles at the point of attack. Also, let's talk about the offensive line. And we'll get to Aller, and I know that there's some blood that people want. The right side of the offensive line is not working right now. Anthony Donko, maybe he's just a tackle. Nolan Rucci didn't really improve from last year. There's been too many mistakes up front. You thought they were going to get some of these things cleaned up. They looked better through the non-conference as they got closer to this game. And then some of those same mistakes, missed assignments. Missed assignments for guys that have started for 2 years now or that have been players on this offensive line. Drew Shelton is struggling in pass protection. There was one play, I had a freeze frame. It was Aller on third down, and I thought they were throwing a screen. There were 3 players in the backfield. Anthony Donko got beat. I believe Drew Shelton got beat on one side, and then it was maybe Venga Ioane or Nick Dawkins. It's not good. And if that's not working, none of the other magic in Andy Kolnicki's offense works. If there isn't the establishment of that run threat. Okay, so those are some of my prepared comments. I know we've got a ton of people that are saying stuff in the chat. Steven is here. He says, I feel bad for you to have to watch the tape. Well, the good thing is there's a lot fewer offensive plays. So I'll be breaking down every single one of these post-mortem tomorrow during Sunday, our Sunday film study. I'll go through every single offensive and defensive play to give you an idea of what happened on those plays. Got a pretty good idea coming into this game on the offense. And how many plays did they have in this game? Let's just see. See if I can find it quickly so I'm not just reading the internet in front of you. But the offense, let me find the drive chart here. That's what I'm looking for. 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Yeah, they went 3 and out too many times. 11 plays for 32 yards. My brother-in-law was texting me in the game, and he was like, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable how dink and dunk the offense is. They don't have a passing game. I don't know how you win football games like that. There's going to have to be some sort of adjustment in this offense. And this is what we were concerned with, talking about these receivers. Devontae Ross showed up in this game. I think Trevor Pena made some good plays, but Kyron Hudson getting open, not his strong suit. Was not his strong suit at USC. And the contested catches, like they're not there. Let's see. A freaking Mason. They have a systemic issue on offense, no matter the QB, offensive coordinator, or players. They've changed it, but it's still the same thing. The thing stays the same, and it won't change. Obviously, he's talking about James Franklin. Yeah, I don't know. Yes. Like I said, it's a post-game show. Yes. Yeah. James Franklin, whatever the plan has been on offense is not working. Going and getting an option offense when you have a drop-back passing quarterback. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Maybe that wasn't the best idea. Explosive plays as a number are great. How are you making the chicken salad is another thing. They have not adapted, and this has been a very surprising thing. They have not adapted to a more drop-back passing and allowing Aller to throw the ball around the field. They haven't been able to do it. And part of it is when the offensive line, it's the same thing, except that Oregon was dominant with the game plan. They did not allocate resources to the box either. They were actually able to stop the run with just 4, like basically just the 4 defensive linemen. Here's another thing. They didn't use that many odd fronts as far as I could tell. I mean, things were flying 1,000 miles an hour. So there's a lot of stuff in the trenches that I am not totally aware of, because what was happening was Penn State's offensive line was just losing. Their tight ends were not getting the blocks. And that's another big thing that I think I underestimated in this game. I thought those defensive ends for Oregon, Tuioti and Uiagalelei, are excellent run defenders. And I had no question that was going to be a battle in this game. I just thought Penn State would show up. I thought they would. We've seen Nolan Rucci be a really strong run blocker. We've seen Venga Ioane, I think, had a pretty good game. He gave up some bad pressures, but there wasn't a lot of movement up front. And they did not get off to a fast start. They did not do a lot of things they needed to do. Here's our first Oregon fan. Welcome. Congratulations on the win. Franklin can't beat these top teams. Feel like the Notre Dame game all over again. No playoffs this year, and I think we need to move on. At a certain point, you are, and I know, here's the thing. I feel like I know a lot about football, and there's just those certain things that I'm not aware of. But to the point, Patrick, James Franklin got his defensive coordinator. He got his offensive coordinator. He's getting the yeses in the offseason, right? And yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Now, here's the thing. Again, I will just say this tactically. This loss means that they can't lose to anybody else on the schedule other than Ohio State. They are now down into where if they want to make the playoff, and I know we're already saying they're not going to make the playoff, and I don't have a whole lot of leg to stand on to tell you this offense is going to get them to the playoff. But they can still make the playoff. I think they showed grit, heart, determination, whatever to come back in that game. But it was all running. It was just the fact that the quarterback would scramble when there wasn't anybody open. And again, TBD, got to see what he didn't see, got to see what he did see on the coach's film coming up tomorrow. But it was clear that the passing game was over. And the minute they tried to throw the ball in the overtime, I think it was the first. Did they throw the ball in the overtime on that first drive? If they did, it was an end around to get the touchdown. I don't see a pathway. I try not to say these things and be hot takey and be like fire the head coach, but At a certain point, you've built to this point. You've built to this point, and you have not gotten over the hump. This was their best opportunity to do that, to win a big game. And we're going to have arguments about big game, does it matter, does it not matter? Yes, at this point, for this team, it does. It absolutely matters. They've got more on the schedule, but they didn't win this one, and that is continuing a trend, especially for it to end the way it did. So I don't know how they move on from James Franklin. I don't know if they would. Pat Kraft has made it clear that he wants to win and that he's going to spend the money and allocate the resources where he needs to do that. Now the question is that move realistic for this program? We shouldn't be with a 3-1 team that's going to be in the top 15, like seriously talking about firing the head coach, especially in a game that went to double overtime. But this team and this fan base, again, I totally get it. I absolutely get it. It feels the same, like it's the same thing. Greg says, I come to one game a year. I always try to pick a tough opponent. It's getting old spending hard-earned money to watch a team and coaching staff underperform. Again, I don't want this to be on the whole team. The defense, they did their job. The defense won the game. The offense lost the game. And I don't really have another way around it to talk about it. Yeah, their offense was I don't know how I was feeling embarrassed watching the offense perform in the first half. And let me look at some of my notes. I don't even know if they're worth it at this point because there were so many things that happened in the second half. The tempo plays have to stop. So when Penn State, and I had these stats, Penn State averaged 3.9 yards per carry coming into this game on tempo runs. In this, I'm sure those late runs by Traber Pena are going to make it look better, but Penn State was getting negative yardage on those tempo plays. So that needs to be out of the playbook at this point. Like, it is not working. The offensive line does not have enough wind to get to their blocks correctly. Yeah, they ran the ball to get into the game. The thing that was okay, what does Sean have to say here? Call the local media. Can the local media call Franklin out, raise the temperature, get in unison, and write him out? He shows he's not the guy. Wasted 4 years of elite defense. I mean, we don't have the power to buy him out. We certainly have an amount of what we do, but I don't know that the local media has the power that you want. And I know, like, it's very frustrating to say, but yeah. This falls at the feet of the head coach. I can tell you about the tactics in the game. The offensive game plan was not good. There were not open receivers. Oregon was anticipating where the receivers were going to be, and there were not open receivers for the quarterback, who then did what he does, which is make some plays out of structure, and like he was in a bad spot in this game, and he did not raise the performance to the level that he needed to win the game. He made some plays, got them back in the game, and I do want to give him credit for some of the things that happened in that fourth quarter, because they were able to get where I thought the game was over, and they were able to get back in the game. But ultimately, when you throw a pass in overtime, and it's either your first pass or your second pass, and it's an interception to end the game, it's not good enough, and it hasn't been good enough. Freaking amazing. Becky says, it's fair to say no one's job on the offensive line side of the ball is safe. I've been super disappointed in Phil Troutwine. Jeff, when is this school going to realize Franklin is PSU's version of Mark Richt and they're going nowhere near a championship until they rip the Band-Aid off? Fire Franklin for the love of God. Hakeem the Dream. Franklin is a good man, great recruiter, and a mediocre head coach. Horrible in-game coach. Franklin needs to go. Aller will be a better QB in the NFL than Penn State due to coaching. I don't know what was the in-game coaching that was a problem here. I didn't have a problem with any of the in-game coaching. I thought they were in a position a lot of times. Here's the frustrating thing. They get the opening kickoff. They defer, right? So now the middle eight is open for them to win the middle eight. They get the ball at the 2-minute warning. They had the opportunity. Everything from a tactical standpoint, from a timeout management, they had their timeouts when they needed them. So, like, fire Franklin because he's not a great game day coach is not actually, like, accurate of what happened in this game. The offense didn't show up until the fourth quarter. And I know I got, like, 30 minutes left of the show to talk about. I don't know how else to say it. The offense didn't show up. And, you know, is he responsible for the offense? Yes. Ultimately, he is responsible for the offense and its operation. Andy Kotelnicki, I try not to call out people whose job I can't do. I cannot craft a game plan. At the same time, that one was clearly not good enough. You all saw it. I saw it. Everyone saw that was not a quality game. There was not anything in there that stretched and attacked vertically or laterally. And here's another thing I want to say about Aller and some of the things that they can't do. Aller struggles with RPO throws. So what an RPO is, just so everybody knows, it's not a read option. When there is a receiver on the backside of a run play running a slant, and you saw Kyron Hudson ping off his helmet, or where there's a play action fake and Aller has to flip his hips and throw really quickly, Luke Reynolds up the seam. There were some plays dialed up, but Aller kept missing those throws. Now, he was able to throw while falling over and hit Devontae Ross for a first down, but they were not able to even use some of the other tricks in the bag that are in an offense because I think Aller struggles with RPO throws. That is an area where he has consistently struggled to throw the ball on a very quick decision where he's in one position and you got to flip your body the other way and then throw. Ethan Grunkmeyer, I think he can throw those eventually. That's obviously not what we're talking about today. But when we're talking about Franklin and this coaching staff and this game and this frustration you have, it is not about the game management. This is decisions that were made months ago. Decisions about what the offense was going to be back in the spring. Of Traber Pena is your option player. 5'10", 195-pound guy running jet sweeps. He's not a tackle breaker. He did better in this game. And I'm not trying to call it individual players, but these are the concepts that they're using. Nick Singleton being the early down back, wearing people out. Now, Katron Allen was the lead back in this game. He started the game, and he ended the game. And he was in there and made some plays, but he also, early in the game, was not making runs either. But they finally put him in the game and his spark. Okay, so let's talk about that. Is Katron Allen the lead back now? Yes. Does Katron Allen need to receive a larger portion of the plays? I also think that's true. But Nick Singleton in this game also had some key plays, so you can't just get rid of Nick Singleton, although he did have 1.9 yards per carry. Yeah, there's nowhere to turn where this is a good conversation, is there? Devontae Ross was good. What was Singleton? 3 catches for 30 yards. And again, I'm sorry, that sucks when your running back is your second leading receiver. This is what I've said when in the offseason we have these conversations about, like, they need to get Singleton involved in the passing game. Sure. As a third option, once you've established a bunch of other threats, and they couldn't establish any threats in the passing game. A. Campbell. Let's see. So A. Campbell's a very reasonable person. Let's see what he has to say. Andy called the worst first half for a Penn State offensive coordinator I recall. That's saying something. The wide receivers got open. This loss is on Andy and Drew. A blind man can see Katron needs to be running back 1. And he thinks that James Franklin is a huge net positive for Penn State. All right. I did not see that one coming. And by the way, because there's 1,300 of you here on the live show, I don't just answer these super chat questions, but when I'm out here, flying solo, it does help that they all go into a special place and I can look at these and they're very bright and colorful. I'm with the crowd tonight that I agree with some of those points, but at a certain level, this does have to be unacceptable. If you want to be a championship program, and that was the point of this year. I said this, and I want to stick to this. Like, the expectations had to be higher for this team. Drew Aller completes 56% of his passes tonight. Dude would have been a first-round draft pick last year. I don't know now. I mean, he's going to have a great end of the season for any of those things to happen. Yeah, Katron Allen, top running back, 2-to-1 carries, get him the ball. But again, 54 yards on 12 carries. They just, how many? 25. They got 60 plays in this game. Oregon ran 70-something. So they got 10 more plays in this game. It felt somehow like late. Penn State made up a lot of ground in terms of getting plays for Katron Allen, right? Getting him the ball late in the game. What happens if he gets the ball earlier? It's a fair point. It's a fair question. He started the game. I think he got some of the first carries that didn't really go anywhere. And then they went to Nick Singleton. They want to hit home runs so bad. And they want Nick Singleton to be the guy doing it. But maybe they need to hit some doubles, right? A. Campbell, I don't know if the receivers were open. It was very frustrating to not see a lot of that tonight. But if Oregon is not allocating resources to the box and Aller is not able to create and extend the same way that Dante Moore was, and I think he was fine in that area, systemically the passing game is not working. Like, it's just not working. And I thought it would. I thought there would be more here. I thought there would just be more. And they try to do some different things. Like, again, they try to do some different things in the offense, especially in the passing game, and it just didn't work. Kotelnicki calls plays like Perbula and Warren are still there and calling quarterback bootlegs with Aller like he's Michael Vick. So I don't mind the bootlegs. Here's the thing. The bootlegs, especially off of under center play action, are absolutely like NFL concepts. But, and by the way, I apologize for that. I'm under the weather a little bit tonight. When nothing's working, everything becomes predictable. When you have to go to certain things repeatedly, everything becomes predictable. And so I don't know why Penn State didn't push the ball vertically more in this game. It felt like it was very ball control, come out and throw underneath. And part of that is Oregon plays a soft shell defense. They don't want to let you do to them what they want to do to other teams. So there probably wasn't anything open deep, and they knew that, so they were trying to throw a lot of corner routes in this game. They're trying to get Kyron Hudson on corner routes, and Aller has pressure in his face because his offensive lineman fell over. Like, got pushed back into his feet to the point that the stunt made both of the linemen fall over. Now, does he need to step into that throw? Yes, it's incredibly frustrating. He needs to step into that throw, and he needs to, for the love of the game, throw the ball with some anticipation and conviction there. And on that third down, that didn't happen. Everything about this team has been overrated, especially Andy Kotelnicki. Yeah. That's been very frustrating. There were some red flags here in the offseason. They were talking about a lot of catch and run. And again, these receivers aren't big. Kyron Hudson is big, but is not a catch and run guy. Then you've got two smaller receivers who are not catch and run guys. And here's the thing, like at this point, Kobe Howard, like throw the kitchen sink at the passing attack, at the passing game. Whoever's on the roster, I'm opening the Quentin Martin can play receiver, break glass in case of emergency conversation now. Like, let's just see what works. Find something that works. Because if we're saying that some of the things that Kobe Howard isn't doing off the field to get into the rotation are either special teams or they are blocking as a receiver or whatever it might be, Kyron Hudson also got beat on a lot of blocks tonight. So what do you need? I think there's the proof tonight that this passing attack needs something different. And for everyone that's been saying that, you are correct. You were right, and here we are. King Khan 17 brings up a point that I didn't want to bring up in the first 30 minutes of the show because that would feel like sore losers, and that's not really like a thing I want to do here. But the refs were awful in this game. He says, and study how blind refs were in this game is crazy, that they continuously missed calls. Like, obvious holding calls, obvious offside calls. That just, they didn't call any of the things that you would think would be reasonable when they're right in their face. So it was not the reason Penn State lost this game, because Penn State's defense was in the game, right? Even with that, they were in the game. But they absolutely did not get any help from the referees, and that is not It's not why Penn State lost the game, but it certainly didn't help them because the referees also gave them a personal foul penalty on the right tackle that felt like a make good when all of that stuff went down late in the fourth quarter. Brett says it's a little funny how Oregon is a top 3 team and national contender. Penn State is horrible and not making the playoffs. I'm assuming, Brett, that's what you're saying is going on in the chat. Oregon didn't play well in this game in terms of, if the other team is scoring 3 points through 3 quarters, they eventually, in this game, so Brett, to your point, the point of Penn State's game plan was to let them run the ball and run themselves into long drives that don't amount to points. So they took the bait. And let's talk about what happened in the second half, because I think that this is something, at least I can latch onto this and we can discuss this for a couple minutes, because I think it was really great and why I wanted those players as my defensive players of the game, especially Zakee Wheatley and A.J. Harris as run defenders, because they were trying to run up the middle and take advantage of that light box count, and it didn't work. So what they then tried to do is they tried to pin and pull, get to the outside, get outside of the defensive line, because if the defensive line is going to shift inside, then we'll just allow you to go inside and then run outside. They actually were running certain concepts and schemes I've never seen done before, where they were allowing the defensive end on a pin and pull to just run upfield. Never seen that before. They were trying to pin and get a secure block on the middle linebacker out in space with their tight end. And the fact that Zakee Wheatley was able to fill from 12 yards deep and run to the sideline to make plays. There were so many plays where Amari Campbell strung out a play, and then suddenly Zakee Wheatley or Zion Tracy or A.J. Harris would fill from off screen and make a big play. So Oregon took what the defense was giving them in all of these situations, which is what you want your team to do. What they did not do enough was break off explosive runs. They were able to get a couple. They got a 24-yard run, and they got a 29-yard passing play to Corian Moore. They got 3 explosive passing plays to Sadiq, Bryant, and Moore. That's just 3 and then 1 explosive run. 4. That is obviously it was enough to win the game, because one of those explosive plays was the game-sealing touchdown. But if you're telling me that they scored 17 points in this game and Penn State's in the game, like I would not have been shocked about that. In the end, Oregon and in the trenches was way better than Penn State in a significant way. They are a good team. And other teams, if this is the template to keep a lid on Oregon, maybe they have a problem. But I don't know that there's a lot of teams out there that are going to be able to replicate this. The way that Penn State did. Now they've got to make some adjustments. But Brett, I do think that Oregon is a good team, and Penn State has some significant flaws. You know who can throw the ball? Rutgers can throw the ball right now. Iowa's been chucking it around the yard. It is shocking to see where we are. That Penn State is now so firmly affixed in the black hole that they've been in with the passing game that we are now here in 3 years. There's so many things that are on so many things that I have said, there's context to all these things. Now there's not context to any of these things. Yeah, so Keandre Lambert-Smith going away and having 1,000 yards on a losing team, but still being a productive wide receiver. Trey Wallace going to Ole Miss. Now that offense is built to throw the ball, and that's about it. But having a lot of yards, being open, and now Penn State gets 3 transfer receivers that have been wildly underwhelming. I don't know how they're going to be competitive in these games if they can't operate a passing game. I don't know where this goes unless something changes significantly. Andy, tell us you don't have faith in your QB without telling us you don't have faith in your QB. Luke here in the chat. Here's the thing about what Luke is saying in my mind, and I don't think it was necessarily faith in your QB. I think they didn't have faith in their run game. If your quarterback, if Aller has 9 carries for 42 yards and one of your leading rushers in this game, I always say when you see a team running quarterback option, like spamming it, and the idea is when you run Wildcat or any of these things, you are gaining an extra number in the box, right? But what are you giving up? So if you've got somebody that isn't Drew Aller under center, you're giving up the ability to throw the ball. Tyler Warren bridged that gap last year. He could throw the ball enough in those situations where they got some explosive plays to Katron Allen, etc. When defense is focused too much on him. Aller's not enough of a running threat to cause some of those centrifugal forces to pull in on those option plays. And they also don't have a drop back passing game right now. So when you start spamming the quarterback option, it's because you are running out of actual plays. You are running out of things that are working. So you need to go to cheat codes. And like the most basic cheat code is our quarterback is going to run the ball or be a running threat so that we can then put you in a position where your numbers just won't add up. But the problem is you just put enough players in the box, you have enough guys make mistakes on the offensive line, and you eventually that offense gets put in a box. Like you can't go anywhere with that. So yeah, Luke, I agree. Like I don't know that it's trusting the quarterback; it's just trusting the offensive passing attack, and that's where I want to see a lot of this stuff tomorrow. Is like what was going on off screen, because here you and I sitting here right now don't necessarily know. I know a couple of plays. What was going on, but they threw the ball so few times because they had the ball so few times that it felt like a lot of this stuff is reactionary to what we saw. But what we saw was so awful, like it was so bad. I don't know what to say. We have more Franklin. Like at a certain point, like this is. We're not going to get to all of you. I appreciate everyone donating to the channel that wants to yell about James Franklin. I don't know. Maybe if there are enough super chats, we can get a buyout fund going for James Franklin. Try the Statue of Liberty play or punt on third down, says one of our subscribers here. If you're here on the show and you're enjoying this kind of bloodletting, subscribe here to the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. We're talking about this stuff. We'll have more answers for you on our follow-ups over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. You can still join for $1 a week for the rest of the year. That is still active for our Whiteout subscription. And we'll be going through a lot of this stuff over the next couple of days. Goonie says, Aller isn't the guy that we thought he would be. He's flashes of brilliance, but is not enough. O-line didn't help, though. Maybe explain from an insider's perspective why it seems they have regressed. Okay. Goonie, this is a great question. Last year, Anthony Donko played right tackle. And he played right tackle very well. But he was also injured a lot. The right side of the offensive line consists of Nolan Rucci, who started in the playoffs and played well, but they were protecting him a little bit in the playoff. Now, he played well, didn't face really, I think, a lot of elite pass rushes in the playoff, but was able to hold his own. There was an effect of not having Donko there, but there was certainly productivity on the offense. But now what you have is Donko at guard, and he's struggling mentally at the guard position. He's making mistakes. And then you have a limited center who's a 6-year player. He's a leader of the team, but physically was not getting to some of his blocks. And then when he was getting to some of his blocks, let's just say what's called a double team, right? So Anthony Donko and Dawkins are blocking the same defensive tackle. Then Anthony Donko has to go to the second level and pick up a linebacker. And once he leaves, Nick Dawkins loses the block. That happened a lot tonight. And then Nolan Rucci has struggled as a pass protector, which was an issue for him in the regular season last year and has not improved. That was a question because he did not spend a lot of time in the weight room this offseason because he was injured. And I had a question, is he getting better? He needed to get better in the spring. And there has not been a significant step forward for him. So the right side of the offensive line is struggling. And then Drew Shelton is in a funk. I don't understand necessarily what's going on with Drew Shelton. There's no reason for why your starting left tackle, your senior, has like mental lapses in pass protection where guys are just getting to the edge on him where it feels like he's not anticipating that. They're going all the way out and getting around him, but he's also not really like challenging them on the edge. And so there have been easy pressures that don't make sense when I watch them. So to me, systemically, like the right side they need to figure some stuff out. And this is the issue, that they didn't really have a competition for the right tackle position. There's a competition at guard, and Cooper Cousins wasn't ready. His pass protection was struggling, making some mental mistakes. So Anthony Donko is your right guard because you can't really make a competition at right tackle. There isn't anyone else behind him to be pushing Nolan Rucci, and nobody was fighting for that right guard spot. So now you have two positions that were just not given, but like those two players fit the bill. Now the question is, like, do you want to reconfigure that? And here's the thing, and I don't want to I don't want to alarm anybody, but I don't think Penn State is going to come away from this game thinking that they need to like pull the plug on any of this stuff. What they're going to do, from my view of this team, is they're going to say, we just need to get better at the things we're trying to do. So none of these things are changing. They're not going to be benching the quarterback. They're not going to be firing the head coach. They're not going to be firing the offensive coordinator. They're not going to be changing the right side of the offensive line. They're going to try to get better week after week after week, and maybe that'll work. But in this particular game, that matchup was rough, and it did not produce the results they were hoping for. Ted says, I'm exhausted. Enjoy a beer at Anti-Fragile. Donates to the channel. So I guess in the end, we're right. You guys were right. Drew Aller doesn't fit this offense. I was certain that they would have more in store for the passing attack and using the middle of the field, being able to attack up the seams, things we've seen them do previously. Being able to attack up the seams with the tight ends, being able to run deep overs and crossing routes. They didn't trust their offensive line to pass protect in this game. Everything was play action. Straight dropbacks were gimmicky plays, it felt like at times. And so the playbook, whatever it was, needs to be something different next week against a really bad UCLA team. Now, let's talk about what needs to happen going forward for this team. They're going to be going to UCLA with a hangover from this game. They lost to Oregon in a comeback fashion. Like, they're going to take the positives away. Here's the other thing. Is like, I'll explain from this perspective. They're going to take the positives away from the fact that they battled back in the fourth quarter. Their offense started to work, and they're probably going to double down on Aller being a runner and opening up the run game because he's actually going to keep the ball more. UCLA, maybe we'll see them run the ball more with Aller under center. And I'm just going to put this up here for fifth ring. 4-21. 4-21 against top 10 teams is what it is at this point. We've had conversations about, they were on the road. They were the underdog in all of those situations. They weren't expected to win those games, or they were not in a position where they had the ability. The talent gap, right, was on the other side's favor. Penn State was at home. They had the whiteout. They had a defense that gave them a chance. The offense is for the 48th minute. I don't know what to do with the offense. I don't know what to do with that. They did not. It feels toothless on consistent deep pressure. You can scheme up some shot plays and some deep play action passes, but if you can't threaten the field deep, and you can't force a safety out of the box, or you can't run against a team that doesn't even have a safety in the box. Ooh. And by the way, for Penn State fans, Oregon's a very good program, very well funded, with a very good head coach. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be a problem in the Big Ten on the level of Ohio State for a while now. So they've got Brandon Finney. Played well in this game as far as I could tell. Made some tackles. Guy that Penn State thought they were going to get, and then Oregon came in, and now he plays for Oregon. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let's see, what do we got here in the chat? I've been saying, like, yeah, if you want to move on from him, go for it, says Z9er. This guy gets paid by Franklin. No, I just don't know what the realistic, like, what's the plan going forward then for this year? Like, let's say that James Franklin, you get your wish and James Franklin gets fired. Who's the head coach? And these are just legitimate questions. Do you become worse? Does that fix the offense? I don't know that it does any of those things. So you want to have this conversation in the offseason? Yes, but they're in it. This is the team. This is the offense they built. This is what they decided to do. I think it's fair to question all those things that they decided. All of the things that led to here, fair to question all those things and those decisions they made. Not being aggressive and going and dropping money for a receiver in the transfer portal. These are all decisions James Franklin made. I'm giving you the words to say what you already want to say, right? These are the decisions they made that led to an offense that had 69 points at halftime, or 69 yards at halftime. So if you fire James Franklin and you move on, I'm not saying that is not ridiculous at this point. That's not a ridiculous thing to say. I had previously said that this was the year to find out, and we found out for the first time here in this game. Again, everyone's very mad right now. It is one loss. It does not paint a rosy picture for the future, but we don't know the future just yet. And the man that you're all very angry at, James Franklin, he's going to be facing the music here in the post-game press conference. I'm assuming that's already wrapped up. It's going to be over on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. You can go check that out, and you can make those comments on that YouTube video as well about firing James Franklin. That is going to be a thing that people are talking about. That's going to be a part of the narrative after this game. Firing a head coach of a team that is 3-1 is not a thing that is going to happen. That is not a thing that is going to happen. Now, if they continue to play like this and they continue to struggle on offense, these decisions they've made, it is fair to criticize those decisions of the players playing where they're playing, the decisions of the offensive coordinator, the decisions of the quarterback, the decisions to let other quarterbacks go, which, oh, by the way, I forgot to do this. Give me 1 second. We got to get this in. Let's see. We have a special segment for you that I think you're going to really like.
Well, what about
Bo?
Yeah, Dad. Don't you think you should apologize to
Bo?
What about Bo? Rated PG. Maybe.
I was going to use this earlier in the game, but I did not have this. Oregon defeats Penn State 30-24. And Bo Pribula, meanwhile, goes 26 of 29, 21 straight completions, 249 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception in a 42-6 win over UMass. And I also have it here that 21 straight pass completions is a Missouri record. So there you go. That was What About Bo today. You know, it would have been nice to have Bo Pribula's legs in this offense when they didn't have any receivers to throw to. My statistician didn't give me Bo Pribula's rushing yards. I'm assuming they were immaterial, but also a part of that would be really good in this offense. So, weapons. Let's nutshell this, right? Let's come to a conclusion here. Penn State's offensive weapons are not establishing a threat to the outside to pull any players outside the box, and the play actions, the orbit motions, the jet sweeps, the motion before the snap is now all superfluous because what's going on between the tackles is not working. Secondarily, in the passing game, they don't seem to have a rhythm or a flow or an idea of where they want to throw the football reliably. Who's the main target on this team? What's the personality of the passing attack? Who are they going to go to in a clutch situation? Devontae Ross and Traber Pena, I want to say that I think they're doing a good job. They're doing a good job. Kyron Hudson has been struggling and struggled in this game. Didn't get a lot of opportunities and got one clanged off his face mask by a bad RPO throw. Drew Aller, struggling to find completions, struggling to find a rhythm, is not finding a foothold in this passing attack. However, if it's run, pass, I don't find that to be a situation where your quarterback is going to be in a positive situation. But the coming up small in big moments, third down passes where he's thrown off his back foot, throwing an interception to end the game against Oregon, again, all these things are very frustrating, and it is consistent with the way they have been playing. I got a lot of people here over in my DMs and in my text messages that are all just as upset as you and want answers from me. But I don't have them. So I do apologize. Hopefully what we did at least was allow you to vent some of your frustrations and see how you feel. And again, I mean, we've got thousands of comments here, and most of them are just this, 4-21. Big game struggles for Penn State. You're going to hear what James Franklin has to say. The press conference is now over on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Yeah, we'll find out more about Penn State and what they want to do going forward. But it's got to be something different because the offense, I was wrong. Here, we'll end with that. I thought the offense would be better in this game. I didn't think they were going to be amazing. I thought they would be better, and they were not. They played to the exact level that they had been previously, and we're going to find out if any changes are made. All right, so I'm Thomas Frank Carr. This has been the BWI Live Postgame Show. We'll talk to you later.